Title MMA's got you covered with everything you need to get into MMA like a pro. MMA masters Duke Roufus and Red Schafer take you through the basics of MMA to get you inside the sport and show you what you really need to know. But you'll also get inside secrets and techniques that can only be mastered from years in the cage. Now you can learn from the best and get ready to give it your all with top quality Title MMA products like these. Title's freestyle throwing and grappling dummy, made of incredibly durable triple ply synthetic leather that'll stand up to all the punches, kicks, jabs, takedowns, chokeholds, and ground pounding you can give it, and still come back for more. Professional Thai pads and Twins Muay Thai pads for serious competitors. Imported from Thailand, these rugged, all-leather, overstuffed pads give you the target you need to develop powerful kicking skills. The Grappling Dummy Heavy Bag, the ultimate 2-in-1 training bag, combining the realistic human form with a durable heavy bag. Give it jabs, straight shots, angle punches, hooks, uppercuts, and more to take your training to the next level. The Twins MMA Thai Shield, handcrafted in Thailand. Super shock-absorbing layered cell foam welcomes every offensive blow and strike and begs for more. Perfect for MMA, Muay Thai, and combat training. Title leather 12 and 16-pound medicine balls. Great for explosive training and endurance training. Title super plastic speed ropes. Super lightweight, but ball-bearing fast. Top-quality leather headgear from Title Boxing, Title MMA, and Twins offer you the most protection in your training routine. Title MMA Gel Pro Shin Instep Guards feature our exclusive gel-enforced lining for even greater protection and form fit. Double padding where you need it most. Twins Open Palm Wrist Strap Gloves, designed for training and competition. A full half-inch of padding over knuckles, fingers, and back of the wrist for uninhibited attack. Full leather construction with elastic thumb loop for excellent freedom of movement and security. Title Platinum Body Protector, perfect for working on body shots and lower body techniques. Use in conjunction with punch mitts to simulate actual sparring. The special layered cell foam really takes a pounding. All these and more Title MMA products will have you looking, feeling, and fighting like the warrior you need to be. Let Duke and Red teach you the tricks of the trade that'll have you winning fights in no time. Bigger, better, faster, and stronger with Title MMA. Check out these products and more at TitleMMA.com. Do it now.
We're going to come to, I think, the most important part of this video series. It's organizing your fight team. Organizing your fight team is what it's all about. You've got to put together the right elements in mixed martial arts. And remember that it is mixed martial arts. You just can't have a team of kickboxers, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, wrestlers, boxers, or any other of the many disciplines that encompass mixed martial arts. The key, too, with a great fight team is a great fight facility. It's not something that you should overlook. You should definitely hit up the Title catalog. Get yourself great mats, great wall mats. If you can't get yourself a cage, because most MMA fights are fought in a cage, you should get yourself at least the Title half octagonal shape or fence so you can work up that fence. Get a feeling of what it is like to actually fight in a cage environment. Get the right heavy bags, ground and pound bags, the right punch mitts, Thai pads, your boxing gloves, your sparring gloves, your kickboxing shin guards, your MMA shin guards, your headgear, your MMA sparring gloves, your MMA grappling gloves. You need all this equipment to duplicate the environment that you're going to train in. It's like playing football. You need the field goals, you need the football field, you need all the equipment, you need all the different devices to hone your skills. Now, that being said, all that equipment is worthless without a great team environment and great teammates. You've got to get some people that understand Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, especially its relationship to MMA. You got to get someone who understands Muay Thai and boxing and its relationship in MMA. You got to get someone who understands wrestling for MMA and put all those together with a good training environment, a good safe environment. Learn how to train to duplicate the environment but without hurting each other.
Also, before your fight camp even starts, that's your off season. Don't be afraid to be a little heavy, work your strength, because once your training camp starts, you're going to lose a lot of weight. So be a little heavy, maybe 10 pounds over your cutting weight. Get good coaches, of course. And good coaches, sometimes you want just good partners, just guys that come in there that can take a beating sometimes. You need just guys, numbers, and good guys that don't want to hurt you. You don't want to hurt them. Very smart trainers. All that, when you put together, that's the start of your camp, all right? Very important stuff. If you don't have the right mix to start, your whole camp could be screwed over. So, very important stuff.
Especially when you know that you're going to face a certain type of opponent. If I were a fighter who's a kickboxer and I'm facing a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu specialist, I wouldn't bring a bunch of kickboxers there to help me. Go out and recruit friends, find guys at the higher level in the UFC. We usually do a large camp and we invite other fighters to come train with us to help duplicate the looks of the athletes you're going to face. Now for your newer fighters, you're just going to have to try and get a well-rounded group of fighters in your gym. And that's a little bit harder for some of you, but keep an open mind and sometimes travel to other cities with friends. The most valuable thing you can do is go to other mats and gyms and learn outside your own element. Go seek the truth in fighting. Try and work with as many great athletes in this sport as possible. You're going to learn everything on the mat training. You can stay at home. These DVDs are going to help you, but the thought from this DVD to go out there and train, take these ideas and take them to other gyms and work with other people. Like I said, work outside your comfort zone. I'm a good kickboxer. I grapple with him. He's a great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He's working with kickboxers, wrestlers, all around MMA fighters. That's how you get good in this sport.
And one more thing. If you're going to be fighting a certain style, let's say a wrestler, and you're 200 pounds, don't bring a 120-pound wrestler in. You need the same size as you. You need that guy's techniques. A little guy's going to do different stuff than a big guy. So find the right guy that kind of matches your opponent, all right? So very important coach-wise and just training partner-wise.
And one of the biggest mistakes people do is overtrain. I'd rather see someone undertrain than overtrain. And enjoy your training. If you're not having fun, if you're not whistling while you're working and having a good time, then why become a fighter? This is supposed to be fun. I don't work for a living. This is a joy to us. It's hard sometimes, but man, it's a fun hard. We enjoy it.
When your training camp starts, of course, diet is very important. It's definitely something, even physically you're going to feel better, but the mental dedication to a diet is very important. You feel like you're giving up something, so it makes you tougher. We all know what's healthy to eat. Our proteins have to be lean, chicken, fish, avoid red meat, but there's certain ones that are okay. Protein shakes, of course, to supplement whey proteins, one of the favorites. Your carbs should be very, no simple sugars. Make sure it's complex. Brown rice, brown pasta, whole wheats. No white bread, no sugar. I'll try to avoid that stuff. It will spike up your energy real quick, but then you'll crash right afterwards. So you want the whole grains when you can. Of course, fat. People think fat's so horrible, but you need your fat. You need your, fish is a great source. The omega-3 fatty acids. Flaxseed oil, guacamole is a great source of fat too. So, those type of things are very important. Another thing, eat 6 times a day. Keep that energy going. If you just, binge like 3 times a day, not only will your energy suffer, but you'll gain weight. You want to be very lean for your fight. You want to maximize whatever weight class you're in. So, if you're about a little soft in the middle, that means you're not, at maximum fight, capacity. So 6 meals a day, with the right meals, of course. Don't eat pizza. Don't eat, any of the fried foods. Everyone knows what's bad. Another thing, alcohol, of course. That's what for the the post party. That's your reward. If you do drink, get it done before the camp, and then 6 weeks hard work. Cut that out. When the post party comes around, you'll enjoy it. So. The dedication is almost important as the physical benefits.
Well, again, that's the old school aspect of fighting. Boxers have done it for years, and now our modern champions in MMA understand how to dedicate themselves in a training camp. Another thing is what Red touched on, your proteins. Try and put a protein drink within a half hour of finishing a hard workout. That helps your muscles recover. Another thing is hydrating. You've got to put that water in your body, and sometimes you've got to put a replacement drink. A high-end replacement drink will really help with your electrolytes. You're sweating so hard in MMA. So much is going on, a lot of the conditioning. So really focusing on getting the proper rehydration and as well the protein. And another thing, wake up and dine. They call it breakfast for a reason. You're breaking the fast. If you slept right, you went 8 hours without a meal. Wake up right away, eat something to get your metabolism screaming. And speaking of sleeping, sleep is the #1 thing for an athlete. You've got to sleep. You could have the best diet in the world. If you're only getting minimal sleep, you're not going to get the recovery you need to be explosive the next day in the gym. And as well, you're actually going to hold on to weight. The more rest you get, the easier it is to burn fat. So when you're training, if you can, possibly even sneak in a nap when you can, try and get that beauty sleep. It counts. And try and make sure that you take a good vitamin to supplement all the minerals that you're losing. You sweat so much, so definitely a daily vitamin. And of course, there's so many other legal performance enhancing vitamins and supplements out there. If you have the budget to, they do help. Again, rest is key, and don't overtrain. You've got to get the rest on the weekends. Stretch, do different stretching routines, do different relaxation. If you need to, get massage, chiropractic, and possibly even yoga.
And remember, I mean, as athletes, I think of myself as a race car. If you're going to have a race car, you're not going to throw the good gasoline, a good oil change. You know, if you're going to work out so hard, treat yourself right. You'll feel better, and your fight will be much better, and your camp will be perfect. So now your training camp is starting. In general, the average is about a 6-week camp. Some people do more, 8, and I've even heard of 10-week training camps, but in MMA it's so intense, 6 weeks is kind of the average, okay? So, week 1 and 2, we're starting our training camp. We're big, we're strong, we're in decent shape, but we're not quite in fight shape yet. It's time to start ramping up your training, making it more fight specific. Your heavy lifting is done. Your long distance cardio is almost done. You might do a little long run once in a while, but your conditioning is way more explosive. You'll see some workouts later that we're going to show, but more plyometrics, more explosive movements, sprinting. When you do run, it's a lot more, you'll go fast, you'll do slow, you'll go back and forth. You won't just continuously go at a medium pace. Get ready for a fight. And of course, your technique is going to start, going specifically for your opponent. You're going to see what his weaknesses are, watch a lot of videotape. Your coaches will help you too. I'll show my coach what's his weakness striking. He'll tell me what I have to work on. He'll do a plan himself. I'll do my own plan. Everyone will come together right then. Of course, sparring starts. You might not be in the best sparring shape. You're going to slowly ramp up for the middle of the camp, but this is where you start doing it. It's going to get a lot more intense, and get your headgear, get ready to rock.
Well, great words from our teammate Alan Belcher's wrestling coach. He says if you're not keeping score, you're not doing more. So when you begin training camp, this is where you start keeping score. What I mean by that is you got to watch your performance. Maybe all year round you've been training for technique, fun, you enjoy the sport, but that mentality, the 6 weeks out from a fight, especially the first 2, is setting the pace. Let's face it, you're getting into a cage or a ring to fight another dude who's training just as hard as you and just as skilled as you. It's not a street fight. The referee says, are you ready? Are you ready? Let's get it on. So he had the same amount of time to prepare as you, and you've got to use that time wisely. And the key is, like I said, you're just not taking your Muay Thai class. You're not taking your Brazilian Jiu Jitsu class. You're not wrestling. You're training now. You should take the attitude that you're fighting for your life. And That's how you're going to be a champion in this sport. You've got to dedicate yourself for those short bursts, those workouts. Again, running 10 miles isn't going to help you become a better MMA fighter. It might help you lose weight, but it's not going to help you become a better fighter. Explosive, explosive, and explosive. When you think you can't go one more time on the mat, go again. Think you can't spar one more time, go again. That's the key. You got to get the mentality in the first few weeks of training camp to push your body, your mind, and your spirit farther than it'll go.
And of course, anytime they're in the camp, if you do, really push it hard, take a day off every 2 to 3 days, take a practice off. Once your body is worn down because of the hard training you did do, make sure you rest. You don't want to, by day 3, 4, and 5, if you're already tired, your practices are going to suffer. So don't be afraid to take a practice off or a night off or a day off once in a while.
We've entered the medium or center stage of your training camp. If it's a 6-week camp, it's weeks 2 to 4. This is where my guys hate me. Truly. I am cracking the whip hard because it's my job. My job as a coach is to make sure that you get out there and get after it and make sure you get off that stool every round to try and win that fight. If you're not trying to win, you're getting beat, and getting beat can be very painful. So in the middle section of our training camp, we focus on trying to get our training partners for specific type training. If I'm fighting a wrestler, we got wrestlers, Jiu Jitsu, vice versa. We try and find guys who are going to push us. Well, our sparring consists of many rounds with fresh opponents coming at you. Why? It sounds not fair for the athlete. Fighting isn't fair. It sucks. It's the hardest sport on the planet in my book. So we want to get you mentally tough and physically tough as well. The conditioning, we try and peak out higher and higher. We want to go farther than we've ever gone on each workout. As well, we try and critique that technique, get the technique tighter, more positives, less negatives. And as well, your rest should pick up. You've got to pick your rest up. You're going to sleep more, you're going to rest more, and you're going to start watching more videotapes as well. Learning on the mat, you learn audio and visually. So watching videotape, learn, study your opponent if you get a chance to get video on your opponent. If not, you're going to watch other fighters that you'd like to fight like, rather. Train your mind to fight like them. And again, just pick up the intensity. This is the hardest part of the training camp, where you want to get your hardest sparring, your hardest grappling, your hardest wrestling, your hardest conditioning.
Also, this is the middle of the training camp. The most sparring you do, the hardest sparring, you're going to get hurt. Hopefully not serious, but you're going to have nicks and bruises, your sore knee, sore elbow, whatever hurts, make sure you take care of it, even if it's minor. A lot of times those minor injuries turn into major injuries very fast. If you got a sore knee, ice it when you get home. Take your anti-inflammatories, put a brace on it. Don't, let it go. Because even if it hurts a little bit, it's going to start suffering more and more. Your practice is going to hurt. And of course, if you just hurt a knee, maybe you start favoring it, and then you hurt a hip, or you hurt an ankle, or something else gets affected by it. So take care of your injuries. And you're going to get them. You're going to get small injuries. And that shouldn't keep you out of practice, though. Take care of them. And you got to be tough. This is the hard part of the training camp. So, you go home, rest, eat. You're still eating perfect. You got your rest days, but it's all mental toughness from here out.
Definitely. I say it all the time in practice. Are you hurt or are you injured? That's the difference. This is a contact sport. Some of the greatest fighters have gone into fights injured, or hurt rather, and even sometimes injured. So you got to learn to push yourself. But recovery's key. Get your sleep. Take the good food. You've got to get good food in your system and rest. Rest is everything at this point. And you're going to be tired. You're going to be mentally drained, spiritually drained. But this is where we separate the fighters from the non-fighters. This is where you separate the never wases and the never will be's from the stars. So the mid part of the training camp is the hardest part, but this is where you get your confidence to win that fight.
We're in week 5 and 6. this is kind of the home stretch. You should be peaking right now. Your cardio should be at its best. You're at the right weight. If you aren't, make sure you adjust it very quick. You only got a week or two left. All your injuries are being taken care of. You're going to your massage therapist if you need to. You're going to a chiropractor. You're seeing your doctor. But you should be in shape. If you're not in shape yet, you're not going to be in shape for the fight. Your sparring should be perfect. You should be exactly peaking there too. Everything's working perfectly. All your technique is good. If not, you got a little fine tuning left. That's fine. The biggest thing, you just you don't want to get hurt in sparring anymore. Week 5 is kind of the peak week. You're still going to do a lot of sparring. The week 6 of the fight, I like to cut out sparring. You're still going to play spar a little bit, but you don't want to get cut. You don't want to really get hurt the week of the fight. Plus, you're already there. You've already done the work. No sense in going hard. You're not going to gain anything. Like weightlifting, some of the other stuff, don't be afraid to cut it out now. You've got all the strength you're ever going to gain. Anything done in that last week and a half is maintenance. You're not going to gain anything by doing a lot of explosive workouts. So be healthy, heal up, let the muscles heal that you've already destroyed in your other weeks of training. So this is your peaking, and you're going to flatten out. So don't push it too hard here. You don't want to get hurt.
Well, something I see a lot in the fight game is people treat their fight camp like a college exam. Hey, let's cram the last couple weeks. In my experience over many years, if you don't have it now, you're not going to have it. So you can't all of a sudden get in shape in 2 weeks. You can't mystically become a tough guy sparring, all of a sudden start submitting everyone and stuffing takedowns or grabbing takedowns. It takes a slow and steady process in a training camp. It's day-to-day work that gets you to this point. That being said, don't overtrain at this point. The sparring becomes a little bit more controlled. We work on technique. Your grappling is flowing. Your wrestling is more technical based. As well, that's when we really pull out the title thigh pads and title punch mitts and body pad, and we really, from the striking standpoint, really sharpen your game on the pads. We really get your offense, defensive sharp, your footwork, your combinations, and your strategy. Like he said, the 5th week we'll do some sparring, but by the weekend we're into way recovery mode, especially the UFC fighters and the bigger shows like that. We're usually traveling Tuesday to fight on Saturday, so part of that is we got to really recover on the road, get used to a different time zone, climate. Where we're from, it's more humid. We go to Las Vegas. So understanding if the fight's on the road, it's a little bit more difficult than fighting down the street from your home. So you've got to take in consideration travel, especially if you go overseas for a fight. A lot of other things that play into that, especially preparation for the fight. So the longer you got to travel, you got to take special consideration for rest, recovery. Make sure, this is going to sound stupid, but you got to pack all the right equipment. There's nothing worse. So go to big fights and dudes are like, hey, can I borrow this? Can I borrow that? Hey, you got a scissors, you got hand wraps, pack your stuff. Make a checklist before you go. If you want to be a professional fighter, behave like a professional fighter. Have all your stuff. Coaches have your stuff. There's nothing more disconcerting to an athlete if he's running around all week. He's focusing on his opponent and you don't have the right stuff to prepare to be a champion. Get your kit, get your training equipment, pack. My rule of thumb is pack more than you need. You'll be fine.
And remember, you're the star quarterback. Week 5 and 6, this is where your teammates that you trust really come in. Make sure they're not going, all their submissions are applied lightly. You're in your peak shape. You don't want an accident to happen. You don't want a guy going a little too hard. So you have to have teammates you trust. Part of that is make sure your coaching staff informs them to go easy on you. Not easy per se, but just, you don't want to hurt the star quarterback. He's in the prime of his training camp. Any submissions are loose. You don't want to pop an arm. You don't want to do anything. Also, you don't have pride either. Don't worry. The last week, if you do get tapped out, tap out early. You don't want to fight through anything the final week of the training camp and get hurt.
Definitely. Be a good training partner. The great Dan Gable, famous Iowa wrestling coach, said, don't be a practice room All-American. You know what? They don't keep score on the mat. There's not a fight finder on the internet that says, I did this, I did that at the mat. The only fight finder is the fight finder. Your record in the cage or the ring. That's all that matters. Don't be a practice room All-American. Learn how to prepare to be a champion in the ring.
Cutting weight might be the worst thing about the fight, worst thing about the camp, worst thing about fighting in general. Cutting weight is sometimes bad, but if you do it right, it's not as bad as it should be. You know, it's all very scientific, okay? Now the biggest thing is you got to get used to it. If you're going to cut weight, which a lot of MMA guys do, don't start off with something, you know, too out of the range. You know, if you're a 205er and you're going to cut, you know, 20 pounds your first fight, that's crazy. You're going to feel horrible. If you do make it, you're going to feel bad, dehydrated, weak by fight time. So practice a little bit. Maybe your first fight you cut 5 pounds. Next fight you cut 10 pounds. And even when you do get good, don't overdo it. I like to, you know, depending on your weight class, keep within 5 to 10 pounds. If you are good at it, maybe 15 at the most. But, you know, there reaches a point where, you know, you're doing too much. You're going past the point of being strong to the point where you're going to, you know, be detrimental to your fight. So cutting weight is very, very, very scientific. So practice, you know, and don't be afraid to do a weight cut maybe 2 months before the fight to kind of get used to that, you know, feeling. So get used to cutting weight. If you haven't cut weight before, don't overdo it your first time.
Definitely, and for you fighters that are amateur fighters, sometimes amateur fights are day-in weigh-ins, or some of you professional fighters, you're not full-time fighters. A guy like Red, this is his job, so he can do morning training and then afternoon training, and he has time to rest. Rest is the key that helps you cut weight. If you got to work a full-time job and then go to the gym and then try and cut weight, it's going to be a little bit harder, and it might be a little bit more detrimental to your performance in the cage or ring. You got to understand, if you're a full-time fighter, you can cut a lot more weight. Part-time fighters, you don't want to cut too much weight because it's going to take a lot more out of you. You don't have the time to rest. The key to cutting weight too, don't starve yourself. You got to get close to your weight and then work that weight off. So many people go to the sauna too long and it hurts them. Another thing people do is they actually don't eat the day of their weigh-in. That's a fallacy. You got to eat something small in the morning to get your metabolism going the day you're going to cut weight. If you don't eat anything, your body's just going to shut down and hang on to what it needs.
Yeah, I mean, most of your water weight is going to be lost the day of the weigh-ins, okay? You don't want to cut it too much, you know, before the fight. If you're cutting water weight, you know, a week before the fight, you're going to be very weak for that, you know, for that whole time. So the morning of is when you're going to start cutting your weight. And even before that, cut out your sodium of your diet. A lot of those, you know, those electrolytes retain water. The week, maybe 3 days before the weigh-ins, you start cutting out your sodium. You'll lose 2 or 3 pounds maybe that you don't have to sweat out. And if you don't have to sweat it out, that's a lot easier than sitting in a sauna for those 2 pounds. So clean up your diet, avoid sodium, and then when you do start your cut, you're probably going to, you know, do a little bit on the treadmill, get your plastics. I know Title has plastics. Wear them, cut as much weight as you can, maybe a 20-minute jog on the treadmill and the rest in the sauna. The most important thing, it's a dangerous thing, so make sure you have a coach with you, someone with you that knows what they're doing so you don't push it too far. And also sometimes you need a little bit of push too. If you know it's not the most enjoyable thing to do, so sometimes you need a coach to say get back in the sauna if you need to. So have a guy there that's, you know, responsible and knows what he's doing.
And that's the key, the responsibility. The fact remains though, part of the roots of this sport come from wrestling. There's a lot of athletes, you know, some of the best 205ers walk around at 240 pounds. They weigh in at 206 and then they fight again at 220 at least. A lot of the high-level fighters are very good at getting down in weight and then they reappear a big monster the next day for the fight. So there's nothing worse than being the small guy in the cage, especially when a strong guy can push you around, stand up, wrestle you, or be on top of you. So very important to understand that diet and lifestyle are a big part of this. Don't try and drink beer, do this, do that, and then go into a hard weight cut on a part-time basis. You've got to figure out, if you're fighting, that it's a lifestyle. Train often. You don't have to kill yourself, but be on the mat rolling, be hitting the bag, the pads, the light sparring. The easier it is to cut weight, the more often you train. If you go from not training all year round and then I'm going to do a training camp, of course the weight cut's going to be hard. But if you make MMA a lifestyle, it's going to be much easier for you to maintain that weight.
One more thing. Cutting weight is important, but of course, if you did cut 5 to 10 pounds, make sure you rehydrate. Very important thing. A lot of fighters do the mistake. As soon as they get done weighing in, they go, grab some water and go to buffet. Bad idea. I've seen a lot of bad things happen. Make sure you drink your water slowly. You're going to have a liter every half hour. You get some protein and some carbs the whole time. Nothing worse than going from about a few hours of not drinking, not eating, to a buffet, drinking all, bad things happen. So do it right. Slowly rehydrate, slowly get your energy. You'll feel much better the day of the fight, and you won't, lose your lunch right after the weigh-ins.
Definitely. Another thing too, if you like Red said, if you want to practice cutting weight, maybe go to a Jiu Jitsu tournament. It's a good option. Or if you're a wrestler, go to a wrestling tournament. Go take another fight outside the discipline just to practice it. If you want to go to tournaments and just try the weight cutting. Because like I said, the first time you do it, and a lot of it, it messes with your head a little bit. So make sure that this is something that you're close to at first. Don't go, hey, I see the guys on the UFC TV do this, so I'm going to do it. Yeah, remember, this is what these guys do. A lot of guys grew up doing this in the sport. And as well, they get the rest all day. So don't overdo it. You'll hurt yourself.
All right. Most important thing, be safe. Do some research. Just don't wing it.
And as well, you can cut all the weight in the world. That don't mean you're good. You got to train. If you got to put your training in, some people put so much emphasis on cutting weight and not in fitness, they forget that you're a fighter. You got to be good at jiu-jitsu, wrestling, boxing, Muay Thai, and putting all these things together to be an MMA fighter. I don't care how much weight you cut, it doesn't mean you're great. So don't miss the point of training. Get good, get fit, then cut the weight. That's the way you should look at fighting.